the Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Italian Football Podcast, the official podcast of Football Italia. I'm Carlo Garganese. Today, Nima is not here. He's stuck at the airport, apparently, in Dubai. They wouldn't let him through security. So substituting him is another Interista. It's a good friend of the show, Rahul Sharma, better known to everyone as Uncle Sharma, which is the name of his fantastic show on YouTube. It's one of the best Inter channels around. So if you haven't checked that out, do check that out. But very grateful, Shams, for you stepping in today to be with us. On today's show, together, we will react to all the weekend Serie A action as Serie A returned after the international break. It was the Lukaku Kvara show in Sardinia as Napoli made it 3 wins in a row to go top of the Serie A, at least briefly, as we're recording this before the Monday evening games. They move above Juventus and Inter, who were both pretty sterile in their draws against Empoli and Monza, respectively. Milan, Rafael Leao and Theo Hernandez ended their crisis by thrashing Venezia. Roma throw away 2 points at Genoa, despite Artem Dobik's first Roma goal. Atalanta end their losing streak in a 5-goal thriller with Fiorentina. We also have the first match day of the Champions League phase, some huge games against the Premier League teams, and we also have our usual bad joke, Premface and Serie Ass of the week. For all our first-time listeners, this is our free weekly episode that we do every Monday, reviewing the weekend Serie A action and all the biggest talking points in Italian football. If you want to support the Italian Football Podcast and receive all of our content that we do throughout the week, including a weekly Q&A episode every Tuesday where we answer all of the questions from our patrons, plus the weekly Thursday midweek review show, plus interviews, post-match reaction, and much, much more, then go to patreon.com/TIFP and become a subscriber for just $2.99 a month plus VAT. You can also sign up to be a paid subscriber on Spotify. Links in the description. It's the same price and terms. And for all of you that do listen on Spotify, Apple, and iTunes podcast, we'd really appreciate if you give us a 5-star rating, give us a follow, and a like, and also subscribe to us on YouTube. Our channel is really growing quite nicely over the last few months, and all that helps us to do more quality content for you guys. Okay, let's get into today's show. Okay, so as we have Uncle Sharma on the show, I think we should probably start with Inter. Of course, as I said before, Uncle Sharma has a fantastic show, one of the best channels on Inter on YouTube. So, Rahul, what did you think of Inter's match against Monza? For me, it was pretty sterile performance from Inter, pretty comparable to Juventus's the previous night against Empoli. Is that how you would see it?
Yeah, I think sterile is probably the right word to describe it. First of all, thank you for having me on the channel as well to replace Nima. Doing the podcast for many years since you guys started, and I always look forward to it when I'm driving, especially when I have long drives. My head office is down in Reading, so I have a couple of hour drive, and I always look forward to the pod if it's coming out right before my drive. So thank you for inviting me on.
Thank you, mate.
But yeah, Inter, sterile, as you said, is the right word. There was a bit of rotation, which I agreed with. I saw there was a bit of controversy in the Inter fan base, especially my post-match reaction. A lot of people blaming Inzaghi for rotating. But I think, Wednesday, we're playing Manchester City away at the Etihad, which actually I'm going to that game. Looking forward to it. There had to be rotation, and it wasn't like crazy rotation. I think it was four guys coming in: Frattesi coming in, Aslani coming in, Carlos Augusto and De Vrij coming in. So everyone else was a starter, and on paper, I don't know if you agree with me, Carlo, but that team is way good enough to beat Monza. This Monza team that is not as good as has been recently, but the rotation clearly did affect the Inter. They didn't look very fluid. There was not much chemistry going on. The midfield, of course, Frattesi coming in for Barella. He just doesn't have the same technical and passing ability. Aslani, we know, is a drop down level from Hakan. But, even outside of the rotated guys, I thought the worst performers were actually the starters. Thuram, Lautaro Martinez especially, still not scored any goal at the start of this season. Now is starting to get to that level where we Inter fans know he goes on these droughts usually, and he's already in this drought at the moment. Starting to get worried.
Why do you think, just to stop you on Lautaro, why do you think he has been so slow starting this season?
Well, he does have an excuse this year. He came back late, obviously because he had the Copa America with Argentina, and actually came back early, 1 week earlier than he was supposed to, which I actually thank him for, because he started against Genoa, first game of the season. He had no preseason, so I gave him. Well, I think we can give him the first couple of weeks as like you know a good excuse, because he's definitely behind everyone else in terms of his fitness. But now he was away with Argentina. He did play with Argentina in the international break, so physically he's getting there. Obviously, those long flights back, that long jet lag, is always an issue for the Argentinians, especially, or the South Americans. So again, there's maybe a little excuse there, but he was very ineffective. He had a half chance, a header that he didn't get on target, and then in general he was very ineffective. So we know about his inconsistency issues. So maybe, yeah, he's hitting that drought. We know he has that drought at least once a season, and maybe I'm hoping that he's getting this drought out of the way at the start of the season now.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I mean, on paper, Inter should have had enough to beat this Monza team. Total control, Inter, in this
Mm,
game. I mean, Monza never looked like scoring. I mean, their goal came really out of nothing. And I remember looking at one point in the second half, and Monza had a 0.08 xG going into maybe the last half an hour or something like that. So, I mean, like Inter would never look like they were going to lose the game, and then they nearly did, and they did, of course, show good recovery there at the end. A little bit lucky with the deflection going into but
yeah.
that's what Inter do. And but yeah, I mean, Nima's spoken about this. Do you feel like Inter might focus more on the Champions League this season, and that might actually give Juventus or Napoli, who will come to, maybe more of a chance because of that?
Yeah, I think, at the beginning of the season, there was hints from like last year, there was that obsession about, we need to get the second star, Scudetto. Everyone was saying it. It was like, an obsession from everyone. But this year, there's been, yeah, a bit more mention of, honoring the other competitions. So, and yeah, I think Man City in general, I think Inzaghi has got, a bone to pick, or maybe it's a bit of a vengeance mission for that
Mm.
Champions League final. So I don't blame him. I think it's going to depend on game to game. Like last year, I went back and looked at the lineups we put out in the Champions League, and the first game against Sociedad, Inzaghi completely rotated the team away at Sociedad, and we drew 1-1 away to them. Um, so I think depending on the difficulty of the team, we might see rotation. Like I think if we had the Milan derby yesterday, I don't think he would have rotated as much. I think he would have kept the starting 11. But because it was Monza, I think it gave him a little bit of belief that he could rotate. So I think, yeah, we're gonna see some rotation for sure. Then they have to. Like I don't really see the criticism for the rotation. Like you guys have spoke about it on the pod. These guys might end up playing 55, 60, depending, even 70 games this season.
Mhm.
The rotation has to start now, to keep these guys going till the end. Um, and then in the media, I'm sure you've seen it, Carlo, but there's been this whole thing about Frattesi. He plays really good for Italy. How does he not start for Inter? But I think we see why he
That
doesn't
was
start
my
for Inter.
question. That
Mm.
was going to be my exact question to you. I had two more questions. One was about Fratesi. Like, he was fantastic in the international break. Why do you think it is he does play better for Italy than? But then when we say plays better for Italy, he didn't have a good Euros. He's had two good games for Italy, so maybe that is like exaggerating a little bit.
Well,
But
he is the top scorer on the Spalletti,
well, that's true. Yeah, it's
which
not
is not
hard though.
hard.
Not hard. Yeah, not hard. But do you think why do you think Spalletti seems to like him more than Inzaghi likes him? Let's say that. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think with the Nima spoke about it. I've mentioned it as well on my channel. He sees him as maybe the modern version of Perotta. He's always had that one attacking midfielder, Spalletti, in his formation, hasn't he? He's like Nainggolan for Roma was that guy that was the marauder into the box, Perotta, before. It's kind of like a very Spalletti thing to do. So I think that's why he likes him, and I don't think anyone else in the Italy squad has got this natural goal scoring ability from midfield. But for Inter, Inzaghi's midfield, you have to be a lot more rounded. You have to do a bit of everything. You have to come back deeper and pick up the ball. In this game, I'm just looking at his stats now. Usually, you've pointed out, I do like to make fun of his passing stats a lot of times. Even completed 89%, so that's pretty good.
That's a record for him, I think.
Yeah, probably the best ever he's done. But I don't know. There's either two things with Frattesi. He either doesn't know how to move off the ball to find space, which is bad if that's true, or the other thing is that he doesn't want to, because he just doesn't make himself available as an option when we're building up. And I saw yesterday a lot of criticism to Aslani that he wasn't passing forward, or but Frattesi, when you watch him, he goes next to Thuram and Martinez, like he's one of the strikers when we see him in build up. He doesn't exist in the build up. And even Di Marco yesterday was going really high up. So the options weren't really there for our midfield. So that's the thing with Frattesi. I think that's one of the reasons why Inzaghi doesn't start him a lot. And I think he is going to continue being a super sub for Inter.
Okay, and my last question for you about Inter. I mean, this is something that's probably better for Nima to answer as he's Iranian. But Mehdi Taremi, I mean, what do you make of what we've seen? I know it's still very very early days. It's just that I know he's had a really really good career, but I was looking at his stats before he came to Inter, and he only scored 6 league goals last season for Porto. I know he knew that he was leaving, so maybe that played a part in that. And I know his record for Iran has remained fantastic over the last year. But, he's 32 years old. I mean, are you confident that he's going to be a useful player for Inter?
Yeah. In regards to his last season, I had a Portuguese football expert come on the channel to preview, or like to give like a scout report on Taremi when we signed him. And yeah, he did say that because of his contract situation in the final season, Conceição, the club, kind of started to phase him out a little bit. So that was one of the reasons why his record wasn't as good last season. But before that, when you look at his record before that, he was scoring comfortably 15, 20 goals every single season. And I think he is a great signing. I think he's going to turn out to be very useful. Like even yesterday, he came on in a weird 3-4-2-1 formation that Inzaghi played at the end, and he always tries to make things happen. He's always comes back a little bit deeper, like a bit of a try to be the Jekyll role. And I think he's going to get the 10 to 15 goals in all comps, and I think that would be a good return.
Yeah, it certainly would. Okay, well, talking about a good return, let's move on to Napoli then, who go top of Serie A, thanks to, well, partly thanks to Romelu Lukaku, he's made such a fantastic impact since joining Napoli already. They thrashed Cagliari 4-0. The star of the show was undoubtedly Romelu Lukaku. He scored one. Did he make one or did he make two? I'm thinking he maybe got 2 assists. Did he get 2 assists?
Yeah, I think he got 2 assists because I had him in my fantasy team.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the dream player. I mean, he's basically had no pre-season. He was just training by himself in pre-season. Conte even said after the game, like he's barely 50% fit, really, and he's already had such a fantastic impact on this Napoli team. What I want to talk about is I want to talk about first of all, and you'll know a lot about this. Like what is it about this Conte Lukaku relationship? Like, I mean, are they the best? I put out a tweet. I mean, are they the best player manager duo in football? That they must be.
Probably, yeah, probably. They're just this connection that they have on and off the pitch is, we saw it at Inter, but even before, Conte mentions, he's been trying to sign Lukaku even when he was, before at Chelsea, when he was younger. It's been a connection that's been there for most of Lukaku's career, and it's just still continuing. And clearly, it's not just about footballing reasons. They must, get on off the pitch as well as people. So that must help, and they must have an understanding. And Conte, I think, knows exactly how to use Lukaku. I think he's the only manager that's really knows how to use him, how to get the best out of him, when to criticize him, when to use the carrot, when to use the stick. He's just knows his mentality inside and out. And yeah, maybe he might be the best player manager during football. I saw some of your examples. You had Pep and Messi, sorry, Jorginho, but I also thought of Mourinho's like similar in terms of he likes to bring in back guys that he loves, like Matic. He brought him at Man United and Chelsea, Carvalho and Paulo Ferreira, his Chelsea boys and Porto boys, or I think Carvalho was Real Madrid and Chelsea. Drogba, he brought him back after he left as well at Chelsea twice. Fellaini and David Moyes to a lower level.
Well, Mourinho liked Fellaini as well, actually. Yeah, but
yeah. James Rodriguez and Ancelotti. Those are some of the ones that came to my mind.
Yeah, I mean, Carvalho, Mourinho even tried to sign Carvalho for Inter as well.
Yeah,
I
before
remember
Lucio.
it well. I remember that.
Yeah, so there was supposed to be him. Well, yeah, he wanted to sign Carvalho and Deco, I think, and then he ended up with Lucio and Schneider, which wasn't too bad in the end.
Wasn't too bad, no. Yeah, I mean, I think that the difference. I mean, these are all great examples, but I think the difference with Lukaku and Conte is that all these other players also had great, played great for other managers as well or other clubs. Whereas Lukaku, I mean, if you're looking at the top level, when Lukaku was a player who was a laughing stock at United, I remember it. Like you remember it, living in England. I mean, he used to just get mocked. Meme. Yeah, he became a meme. Like his first touch, everybody used to just mock that first touch, how bad it was. Conte made him instantly into one of the best in the world together at Inter. And then again, like since he left Inter in his first spell, I don't want to say looked washed, but he's looked past his best. And now he's 31. When you look at him at Chelsea, he was bad. Back at Inter, he was so-so. And then Roma last season, some good and some bad, but certainly past his best. And now, okay, it's still early days. It's still only 2 games or one and a bit games, but already, I mean, you've seen the impact that he's made. I mean, the difference.
Yeah, we gave Lautaro the excuse of the no preseason, but Lukaku has even had less of a preseason, and he's got 2 goals and 2 assists.
Exactly. I mean, his record under Conte is ridiculous. 66 goals in 97 games under Conte, 18 assists as well. But it's just the way that he makes everyone around him play better, and everything comes through him. I mean, the hold-up role, we're going to talk about Juventus after and Vlahovic, but he is an example, Lukaku. If Vlahovic can look at one player, look at Lukaku, the way that he uses his body to protect the ball and the way that players can play off him. And really, Lukaku and Kvara, I mean, I think there's everything there for this to be a really, really fantastic partnership this season. I mean, Lukaku scored from a Kvara assist. Kvara scored from a Lukaku assist. And they look like, I think they're going to do some damage this season. And I mean, if you've got those two playing like this together, I mean, you have to say Napoli are going to have to be a challenger for the Scudetto if these two are going to be playing like this, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. And Kvara in this he's got a bit more of a free role now under Conte because he's not stuck out on the wing. He kind of gets to come inside, and I think that's is giving him a new lease of life because I think he got kind of predictable on the wing when it was just a 4-3-3 and he was just on the wing. Now he's coming inside, coming central, combining. Sometimes it even looks like just a 3-5-2 with like Kvara and Lukaku just combining, and it's looking really good. It's looking really, really good. But going back to your point about them being title challengers, I agree to a certain extent, but at the same time, they still look quite susceptible at the back. I mean, they conceded quite a few chances, a couple of headers that were Meret made massive saves on. They hit the crossbar. I think Cagliari, if they had maybe a better striker, maybe not Piccoli, I think they could have potentially got something out of this game because Luvumbo and the others were kind of creating things around him, but Piccoli just couldn't. The ball wasn't sticking to him, and then the couple of half chances he had just completely misfired.
Yeah, I agree. I think Napoli did ride their luck a little bit in this game, and Meret really did come up big, made some fantastic saves, and then when they were really on top and they looked like they were going to equalise, there was the sucker punch with Kvara, and then Napoli dominated
Mm. And their
afterwards.
goal was quite lucky. The Di Lorenzo goal was a massive
Well, very
deflection.
lucky, yeah. I mean, yeah, huge luck there. But yeah, I just think that, especially we're going to come on to Juventus, like when you've got two attackers like Kvara and Lukaku, like you can be having a game where you're not at your best. And I don't think Napoli were in the early stage or even in the first half. I don't think they played particularly well. But when
No,
you've got those two up front, you can win games that you're playing badly because they can score out of nothing. And I feel like Juventus probably don't have that right now, and Inter do have it, but Inter were very sterile. Like as we discussed, I think that Napoli, like, they're always going to have a chance in games because of these two,
yeah,
and that, I think, that would be a big strength. Just before we move on, yeah, there were some unsavoury scenes as well
oh,
with
God, yeah.
with the fans, which was quite amusing. That it apparently started because Napoli ultras started mocking Cagliari and Sardinia, which is known as a place for sheep farming, and they they placed a banner on the ferry as they arrived, hunting sheep, and then it all went from there. They were doing sheep noises in the stadium, and that's where all the problems started, apparently. And then then it did get unsavoury. There was a lot of missiles were thrown, and fireworks and smoke bombs, and yeah, it wasn't a good scene. I just think that also in general. This was a bad week. This wasn't a good weekend for the number of delays that there were in multiple games this season for different reasons. This game with the problem with the fans, there was a VAR check for the Roma goal, which was about 6 or 7 minutes long. And when you see the replay of the goal, El Shaarawy's onside by a mile, and I was like, "What are they? How did it take them 6 minutes to check that El Shaarawy was
Mm.
onside?" And there was at least another delay that I'm forgetting. So I think that wasn't a good look for Serie A. Just all these delays, especially with all the TV situation going on at the moment, the TV
No,
crisis.
and the Cagliari pitch was awful, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, it wasn't. It looked like they'd been like a farmer's pitch, didn't
Yeah,
it?
sheep farming on the pitch.
Yeah. No, it wasn't good. It wasn't a good pitch, but well done to Lukaku for the way that he played on it.
Mm.
Let's move on to Juventus, though. Um, like Inter, as I said, very sterile performance. They draw 0-0 at Empoli. The 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 worrying thing for Juventus, I think, is the fact that they were almost at full strength in this game, like with all their new signings basically playing. Four new signings starting for the first time: Kalulu, Coop Miners, um, Gonzalez, and Douglas Luiz. Those four all started for the first time, and but they looked, certainly in the first half, Juventus looked like a team who had never played together. So I think that we can probably let Juventus off a little bit for that because it was, the chemistry clearly isn't there. So I think that we shouldn't be too harsh for them for that reason. But I think looking further ahead, and this is something that I said when Motta joined, and I said it last week actually after the Roma game. I said that the biggest weakness for Thiago Motta, and I think he's a fantastic coach. I think he's going to be, one of the best coaches in Europe over the next decade. But I said his biggest weakness as a coach, where he needs to improve, and I'm sure he can, he's smart enough, and we saw this at Bologna, is that his football can be a bit sterile at times because they dominate possession. His teams dominate possession, but often it's
Mm.
very safe possession. He doesn't like pushing men forward, getting too many men in the box, too many men in front of the ball, leaving the tacticos on Twitter call it a rest defense. Basically, having your players in a position where if you lose the ball, you're not going to be open for transitions and counterattacks. And Motta's always very wary of that, and that's why Bologna was so good and conceded so few goals. And Juventus haven't conceded a goal this season, but sometimes it can make you a little bit sterile and a little bit easy to defend against. And I think that was in a microcosm, that was this game, really, I felt, for Juventus. Like, total control possession. I think they had 65, 66% possession. But, I mean, they barely created anything. Just one chance from open play, which was the one-on-one for Vlahovic, and then a header from Gatti off a corner. And that's it. In fact, Empoli had as many big chances as Juventus in this game. So I think from Motta's point of view, that is what he needs to improve, I think.
Yeah, no, 100%. His Bologna team, as you said, was similar as well. But I think what they're missing compared to the Bologna team is someone from the back that can carry the ball. Like they had Calafiori who would do these marauding runs from the back, or even Lukumi to a certain extent. So when these defenses are like Empoli, big credit to Empoli, by the way, they played really well defensively this game. But when teams are playing against Juventus like this, they don't really have Gatti's not going to carry the ball out from the back. Bremer's definitely not going to do that. Cambiaso, I think, was doing it to a certain extent. He was causing trouble coming to central areas, but maybe someone like Kalulu or someone needs to step up and do that a little bit more if Juve are going to get any joy. Because, yeah, that the way they play, they reminds me a lot of Arsenal or Arteta, Motta, in the way that he is very pragmatic, and he's changing the captains around, isn't he? Like quite often. Am I correct?
Well, Gatti was captain. Gatti, gosh, you got me there. I'll have to check. I know Gatti was captain for the last two games. Gatti's actually been Juventus' best player this season so far. He's actually been fantastic, to be honest. But in a defensively. But I agree. I made the same point maybe a couple of weeks ago. I think that when games are blocked, that's where the defender creates the overload coming into midfield. And Calafiori, I mean, we saw it for Italy. The best example for Italy against Croatia. That game was totally blocked. It was Calafiori coming forward that created the overload, that created the space for Saccagni, who then scored. And he was doing that for Bologna all last season as well. And Juventus just don't have that. Certainly not from centre back at all. I mean,
Cambiaso did that one amazing run, and then he passed it to Fagioli, and Fagioli shot it. He was fuming, Cambiaso, with him.
Yeah.
He's probably the only one that can do that at the moment.
No, I
and
agree.
The fact that the way that it's that build-up style, like this kind of almost the way that Zerbi does it. I think Juve are expecting, or maybe at Bologna were, because it was Bologna, and we saw it with the Zerbi at Sassuolo, where like maybe because you're a smaller team and teams do come out and press you, but you're at Juve now, and the kind of inviting possession in Serie A, especially against smaller team, doesn't work because they just won't press you.
I agree completely. I said exactly the same point last week as well. I said that I actually feel like Motta might have more joy against teams that come at them because they create those spaces for his patterns to work. Whereas when you sit back, that's where the sterility is really seen. And I think Empoli did that in this game. They were very well organised, much better organised than I expected from a team who on paper, don't look. I mean, on paper, I think Empoli are probably a relegation team, but they look in defence. They were very good, comfortable. I thought all the defenders played well for Empoli. Ismail, I thought, was outstanding, but even Vitti and the Georgian lad, new signing, who was really good as well. I thought against.
Yeah, he was very impressive.
Yeah, Yildiz didn't do anything. I think just once he got away from him, and that was it. But I think that the other big problem, or the big question that Juventus need to answer, and Motta needs to try and get a solution for, if Juventus are going to be, realistically challenging and having a really, really great season, is Vlahovic. Vlahovic is a big problem. He was awful here. His some of the basic touches and basic passes that he messes up, often like unforced errors, like not even under pressure. I mean, his passing accuracy, we were talking about Frattesi before, his passing accuracy in this game was 60%, 20 passes, only 12 hit the target. And like I said, a lot of those misplaced passes were unforced. And he's just so mechanical. He moves in straight lines, which makes him very easy to mark. He's not very fluid. I make fun of like Declan Rice in midfield for like moving in straight lines. I always make fun of that. Like, I feel like Vlahovic is like the striker version. When he receives the ball, he moves in he's very, very easy to read when he gets the ball, and his movement's probably not good enough. Certainly with his back to goal, he's not like we said before with Lukaku. The way that Lukaku protects the ball, he protects it, he takes it in, and then players play off him. Like Vlahovic just isn't doing that well at all, and it's a problem because when Juventus are already a little bit sterile because it's kind of the way the team plays, you need your striker to unlock games and to be a difference maker, or at least be like an added value. I would say Vlahovic is not at the moment. It's a big problem for Juve.
Yeah, especially now that it shouldn't really matter, but these things do matter to a certain extent. He's the highest paid player in the Serie A now by quite a big margin, even more than Lautaro. And I was working it out the other day. I think if he plays every 90 minutes or less, divide his salary total of 24 million by 38. I think it's around. He costs Juve about 600k or something, 700k per game.
Wow.
So just because of that, he has to step up a lot more than he has in the past. Because if he continues performing like this, Juve are going to have to get rid of him because they can't. That salary is, especially with the new way of working, the new salaries and cost cutting that Giuntoli's done. I can't see him staying long at Juve if he's going to continue playing like this, unless they renew his contract at a much lower salary.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, in the looking ahead, I mean, his contract runs out in 2026. So we're in that situation now where, they're going to have to make the decision, like Chiesa, really. The same position Chiesa was in kind of this time last year, really, where, you're in a position where it's either we renew in the next kind of 9 months or he has to be sold. But they could be facing a similar situation to Chiesa in the sense that, well, which big clubs are going to come in and, well, first of all, pay the money as a transfer fee that Juventus want, but secondly, who the hell is going to pay that salary that Vlahovic is asking for? Right now, obviously, it's early in the season, and he doesn't have the injury problems that Chiesa has, and Motta can hopefully kind of improve him, but right now, like it just seems like those same problems that we saw under Allegri are still there. Yes, he was okay the first 2 games of the season. He scored, but yeah, he's not doing enough. And if we're looking at the short term and Juventus this season, this is if Vlahovic continues to play like he has like these last 2 games, then that is really going to hamstring Juventus into how well they can do this season.
Yeah, because your backup is Milik.
Yeah, Milik. Wow. I mean, that's it. Yeah, or you play a false 9. Maybe you play like Nico Gonzalez, who was really bad in this game, apart from the great pass he did to Vlahovic. But it's weird, isn't it? Because I think coming into the season, everybody was thinking actually Juventus' strength will be their attack, and their weakness is going to be the defense. With Gatti playing and Cabal, there was some question marks. Is he a good sign? And he's actually done all right. But, so far, Juventus haven't conceded a goal. They've barely conceded. They've conceded maybe 1 or 2 chances in those 4 games. But it's the attack that's now, with two goalless games in a row. It's the attack that looks like it might actually be the weakness. It's just funny sometimes, isn't it, how things work out. But
what did you make of Koopmeiners' debut?
Yeah, not great. I don't think he was as bad as everyone made, but I think he's not fully into his rhythm. I don't think he's fully fit. He's not in tune with his teammates. The disappointment was probably some of his crosses and were overhit. Some of his shots were really poor. That was a little bit disappointing because that's a technical thing. But in terms of fitting into the team, he's not quite into the rhythm. So obviously we're hoping for better. I thought Nico Gonzalez was horrendous in the first half. Like literally every touch messed up everything. He lost the ball every time. But then he did an amazing pass. I mean that was a world class free ball to Vlahovic. So and he did play international break as well, and he had a bit of an injury, so kind of can go a bit easy. I thought Kalulu was okay. I thought he did okay. defensively. But yeah, certainly some questions. And Juventus have got PSV now, and they definitely need to get a win. I mean, the positives though are another clean sheet, no conceded. I thought that the midfield, like Douglas Luiz, has got a lot of criticism. Coop Miners has got a lot of criticism, but I always feel like when you dominate, when you have 66% of possession, you've won the midfield. I feel like you shouldn't be overly critical when you win the midfield. Yes, okay, what do you do with the ball? I feel like Juventus, like at least they're playing like a top team now, in that they're trying to dominate the game. They're trying to dominate possession and territory. Now it's just what they need to try and move on and do something with it. But the other positive, I think, Gatti, he's been a really huge surprise. He was a monster. He's been a monster this season. It's a huge surprise. And he made a goal-saving block at the end from Giazzi as well, whereas Empoli would have won the game. I know there was a bit of controversy with the Pellegrini headbutt. I don't think it really would have affected the game. I mean, for me, it's probably a red. I mean, if you by the rules, it wasn't loads in it, and it was definitely over exaggerated. But I think that generally, if you do that movement towards someone, you should probably be a red.
Definitely. But Gatti himself has got away with similar ones, hasn't he?
Well, that's it. I actually think that's probably what's gone against him, because he's got away with quite a few of those, and it's a bit like the boy who cries wolf, isn't it? I guess. But Empoli though, just one quick note on Empoli. I thought they would definitely. I was pretty confident they'd go down this season, but are they still unbeaten this season? I think they are.
I think they are. Yeah.
I think they're still unbeaten. They've been to Roma. They've drawn with Juventus. They've done. They look organised. They're playing as a team, so maybe they have a chance.
No, D'Aversa is a good coach. I mean, he only got fired from the Lecce job because he had bite someone. So.
That's right.
Yeah, so he's not been on the bench the first few games. I can't remember how long his suspension is. So Salvatore Sullo, his number 2, has been taking all the games till in the start of the season.
That's right. Yeah. Well done to them. Okay, let's move on to Milan. Milan enter or end rather their crisis. Theo Hernandez and Rafael Leao answering the criticism. After all that criticism, of course, after the cooling break controversy against Lazio, they combine after 90 seconds to open the score in a great flick from Leao, and then Theo scores. Or it was terrible goalkeeping, to be fair. Leao won a penalty after, and he should have probably scored a goal himself. So that the pressure's eased on Fonseca. It was a lot of pressure, 2 points in 3 games, and now they absolutely had to win this game, especially now that they've got big week ahead. Liverpool in the Champions League, and then of course the derby against Inter. So yeah, crisis over for now. What did you make of this, Rahul?
Yeah, this is gift wrapped by Venezia. I mean, from when did it score? Second minute, Theo scored, and then afterwards it was just gift after gift. I mean, 2 penalties, and the goalkeeping was really bad. I'm not too familiar with Euronen, their goalkeeper, Finnish goalkeeper, but I don't know if he should be the starter. I know maybe he's an Inter bias, but Filip Stankovic is on loan to them. He did quite well in Serie B last year for Sampdoria. I don't know if they need to test out other options, because he was really, really bad. Every single one of the goals.
And the penalty he spilled for the penalty, Abraham as well. Yeah,
really bad. And then in general, Venezia, I mean, they were my favourites to go down, and nothing's changed my opinion on that at the moment. They look really bad at the back, but then going forward as well, they just don't seem to have much of a cutting edge. Quite disappointing that they didn't really do much in the transfer window. Caviglia got. I didn't see that actually. I stopped watching after half time because it was 4-0 at half time, and I stopped watching the game. But what did Nicolosi Caviglia get sent off for?
I stopped watching as well. I'll be honest with you, I pretty much stopped watching because I will come to it afterwards. It's really difficult to watch games in the UK at the moment with this TV rights joke that there is. I'm not sure. I mean, I think their centre midfield is not too bad actually, Venezia, because they've got is
Duncan.
Duncan and Caviglia is not bad. I think Caviglia actually always did okay for Juventus when he put the rare occasions that he played. He did all right. I think the problems are more the defense is shocking, so open. I mean that's partly Di Francesco as well, but it's just not good enough man for man. And then like you said, there's nothing in attack as well. And when you've got a goalkeeper that's gifting goals away like that, I mean, I know Di Francesco's at risk at the moment, and apparently they're going to stick with him for now. But I honestly think that it doesn't matter who the coach is. Like,
Yeah.
with this set of players.
No, I don't think even Davide Nicola could save this team.
Yeah, I don't think so. But I mean, from Milan's point of view, I mean, I guess this was the best game for them to get over their crisis.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I saw that I think Reinders kind of swapped position with Loftus Cheek. It seemed like he was playing behind Tammy
mm,
rather than Loftus Cheek, which is what a lot of Milan fans have been saying, that this midfield really is made for a 4-3-3 really, because they don't really have a number 10. Like Loftus Cheek is not a number 10. And he played it a lot better, I thought, in that slightly deeper role, Loftus Cheek. So I think that's something to look for Fonseca moving forward.
potentially, yeah, because I think that one of the big problems Milan have had for a while now is they don't have discipline in centre of midfield. They don't have a unit. Like they're all quite, especially Reinders. Reinders, I think, is a fantastically talented player, but I
Yeah.
never quite know like what his role should be because he's a bit indisciplined. He kind of vacates his position a lot and wanders around and makes these runs forward and you know the
Yeah, he's a
holding mid.
Mezzala. He's a Mezzala, he should
Yeah,
be allowed
but
to
he's
roam
not a
around.
disciplined Mezzala. Do you know what I mean? If you know what I
No,
mean, he's
yeah,
not a Barella Mezzala. He can
no.
be disciplined to help the team. He kind of like and then obviously Benacer is injured now and he hasn't been the same player for a couple of years and they haven't had that holding midfielder. But now they've signed Fofana, so I think that will be important. So I do think that is something they could potentially look at. But I think there were positives. I mean, Abraham got his first goal after winning the penalty. Morata got a run out, so to get himself fit for Liverpool. So yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting game against Liverpool because Liverpool lost at home to Nottingham Forest. If Milan can win that, then that's it. They can really build. I mean, they're only now, for as bad a start of season they've had, they're actually only 3 points behind Inter and 3 points behind Juventus. Okay, Napoli a little bit further ahead, but they're still in the they could be level with Inter if they win the derby, and then it's do you know what I mean? So.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if they were to lose these two games, then the crisis is right back on for Fonseca. So he's not out of the woods yet, I don't think.
But there were moments that I saw that Venezia didn't create nothing from it, but you can still see defensively that this team is fragile, that any decent team could get at them. And I think the derby or the Liverpool game and the derby, I think, will be big tests to see if whatever has been worked on last couple of weeks is
Yeah.
actually going to work. Because defensively is where the big issues are. I think they're always going to score goals, but yeah, defensively is where I think their season's going to be made.
Yeah. I agree with that. We're talking about dodgy defenses. Two of them here, Atalanta and Fiorentina. I mean, have you seen them? I mean, starting with the defenses, Atalanta have conceded 10 goals in 5 games so far this season now. And
They're the
Fiorentina,
joint worst, right?
that might, yes, well, you might be right, actually. I haven't, I'd have to double check that. But Fiorentina have conceded 10 in 6 in all competitions. That is for both of them, because obviously Atalanta played the Super Cup against Madrid, and Fiorentina had 2 games in the Conference League as well as against an art academy, as I call them, Pushkas Academy. I mean, first of all, though, this was an amazing game to watch. Amazing, such
Yeah, I just double checked. Sorry, yeah, Atalanta have the joint worst defense alongside Venezia at the moment. 8 goals both.
amazing. Yeah, I mean, this was an amazing game for the neutral, but
Yeah, I was watching it alongside the North London derby, and actually, I was preferring this game to the North London
yeah.
derby.
Yeah, North London derby was good for like the flashpoints. So there was loads of yellow cards, and like it was kicking off all the time, like Vicario.
Yeah,
Before he did. But by the way, just while we're talking about Vicario, all those that were calling for Vicario to start ahead of Donnarumma just ridiculous. I mean, the guy on corners and crosses is just horrendous. Like he can't come off his line on crosses
yeah,
at all. He
he
just
hasn't got
stay.
that
Yeah,
that presence that on corners and
yeah.
set pieces.
But yeah, coming on to Atalanta, look, we start with the positives. They had to win first. They lost two in a row. Obviously, they've had a really difficult summer with the transfer market, with injuries, the ACLs to Scalvini and Scamacca, and they went behind in this game. And if it's 3 losses in a row, with Arsenal coming up next, actually, it's really almost crisis time. Things that really are falling apart. But they come back and they turn it around. I didn't think they played well in the first half. I actually thought Fiorentina were the better team in the first half, but they scored twice in the 44th and 45th minute. And I think Retegui and Lookman show that they're going to score a lot of goals between them, aren't they, this season, those two?
Yeah, that connection looks like it's going to be one of the best ones in the league. And it's good to see Lookman back now after all that drama that went on in the summer. He's basically like a new signing for them, isn't he?
Mm.
Well, with all with the Scamacca's injury and all the different issues that they had over the summer, and that the touch that he did for the goal he set up for Retegui, that was just
Amazing.
amazing. Like just take he did something similar in the Europa League final, that touch around the defender, and yeah, he's a special player, Lookman. They're definitely going to need him, and it was good to see
Yeah,
some
great
of this.
individual goal as well. I mean,
Yeah,
his winner. Well, it was the winner in the end. Yeah, brilliant as
yeah,
well.
that was really good. But yeah, David De Gea. Speaking of bad goalkeepers, earlier talking about Euro, and
Yeah,
David De Gea was very questionable for especially the Lookman goal.
yeah, I agree. Although he did make some fantastic saves in the second half to keep it to 3-2, but he dived out of the way, really, didn't he, with that
Yeah,
Lookman goal.
yeah. Atalanta, though, yeah, looking good. They got the centre backs back. They've been missing key centre backs, is all we have to say. One of the reasons why they've conceded a lot of goals. Kolasinac was back. Hien was back, even though he got injured. Jim City has been kind of holding the fort. And then Deron had to go play centre back after Hien came off. So I don't know if they've got a few injury-prone centre backs. That's one of the things to look at for Atalanta.
Yeah, I actually thought they were better. I thought defensively, the first half they were awful. The defending on the goals for Atalanta was
Mm,
embarrassing. I mean, look at the defending on the crosses, just completely unmarked. I mean, Hien for the second goal, just so weak to allow the cross in, and then Kolasinac and Ruggieri for the second goal, just marking no one, just watching, ball watching. And yeah, Hien, even they went off, and Kolasinac, I thought they were both terrible in this game. I actually thought that when Darun went centre back, that's when they kind of sorted themselves out. They actually had someone a bit more
mm,
organisation. I know that weakens the centre midfield. That's something that we've discussed on the pod, that they don't really have, other than Darun and Edison, they don't really have any other natural centre midfielders other than Sulemana, who he wasn't even included in the Champions League squad, so there's probably doubts on him. But yeah, I think that they were better then, but they need to sort out this defence, because they're conceding an average of 2 goals a game now,
yeah.
and that can't continue if they're going to have a good season. But they're certainly going to score a lot of goals. And Retegui, I've said it already a number of times, I don't want to repeat myself. He surprised me, just how good he's been. I didn't think I didn't think he had it in him to be as an all-rounded player as he's been. We know he's a fantastic finisher, and that was a clinical. He's fantastic in the air as well, and that was a great header, clinical header, just buried it. And Lookman, yeah, joy to watch. There's not many players like Lookman actually anywhere really in football that just run at players, beat them.
Yeah.
We don't get that in football much anymore. Individuals, but he's also a team player as well. He's really the full package now, Lookman.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Same on Retegui. I agree with you. I was surprised that he's got this all-round game to him.
mm, yeah, yeah, good for Italy. Very, very positive for Italy. Fiorentina, though, they've still not won under Palladino. 6 without a win. I mean, 5 of them have been draws, but quite a lot of them have been really on paper quite easy games, including those 2 against Puskás Academy, in which they were lucky to go through. They deserve to go out, in my opinion, in that tie. I did think, and Palladino actually said this, I actually think the first half Palladino said it was the best half of the season. I actually agree with him. I thought they played really well. They were just let down by some stupid defending, and I thought in all-round play they were the better team. But again, the defending, I mean, you can't defend like that and expect to have a good season, can you?
No. There's two teams I'm very worried about in Serie A at the moment. One is Fiorentina and the other one's Bologna. I guess we'll get to them, which is, funnily enough, both related to Vincenzo Italiano. But yeah, this defensively, every time Atalanta put up any decent attack, it looked like they would be in on the like in front of the hair. It was very worrying. And that midfield, he tried to, I think, change things up, Palladino this time, because he put Eduardo Bove. It was still a 3-4-2-1, but with Bove as one of the two guys behind Keane, it was basically like a 3-5-2 at times with a bit more cover with Bove. But that midfield is just not providing much protection. Cataldi, Mandragora, and Colpani at the moment is looking like a fish out of water.
Yeah.
He's just not doing anything. He was, supposed to be one of the star signings this summer. Obviously, he worked with Palladino before in the same formation, so I don't rate him that highly. But I'm quite surprised that he's offering really nothing in this team. So I'm quite worried about Fiorentina at the moment. The summer window at the moment, apart from Moise Keane and Gosens, hasn't really provided much of an impact because Goodmanson is still injured and also has got his off-field issues. And I
Yeah.
don't know if you saw actually with Goodmanson, the lawyer that he turned up to court with in Iceland. Did you see the picture?
No. Who?
Oh my goodness, I have to show it to you.
Right.
His lawyer literally looks like a character out of Better Call Saul. Like he had some crazy aviator glasses, and then his had like a leather jacket. Well, like he did not look like a lawyer. It looked like Goodmanson was his lawyer.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, Fiorentina's season actually will rest on the outcome of that court case, because if it's a if it goes badly and I think they have some kind of clause in the deal that that they won't sign him, that they'll send him back. But either way, obviously he'll be unavailable. So I think they need him because I actually
Definitely.
think that Goodmanson and Keane will actually be a really, really good and dangerous partnership, because I think Keane's been really, really great so far
Yeah.
for Fiorentina. I thought he was
Yeah,
good in this
similar
game as
to
well.
what you said to Retegui, really good for Italy. Like his hold up play has improved so much. Like they launch the ball at him and he just holds it. Like he's got so much strength.
Mm,
And I think he's learning how to use it now. Finally, he's growing into his body. He's always been, blessed athletically, but I
mm.
think he'll learn how to use those muscles. As like you can't move him once he gets those feet planted. He always either wins a foul or gets a little flick on now. It's really good
Yeah.
to see. And he
No,
got a
yeah,
goal.
scored again, hit the post. I mean, I don't know. I would have kept him at Juventus. I know there's a financial aspect to it, that Juventus needed to make money in order to make the signings. I totally get that. But I mean, like when I look at how Vlahovic is playing now, can anybody honestly sit here and say that Vlahovic, that Keane wouldn't do the way that we've seen Keane playing? Keane wouldn't do a better job than Vlahovic right now for the team.
Mm,
I mean, even if he's not scoring for Juventus, at least making the others around him play better. I don't know. I think it's a question to be had, but it's good for Italy anyway
yeah.
he's doing well. Let's move on to Roma now. Roma, like Fiorentina, still haven't won this season, and they get pegged back in the 96th minute. They draw 1-1 with Genoa. I think Roma will be kicking themselves in this game. I mean, I thought the first half they played really, really well. They moved to a 3-5-2 formation, and they played Dybala and Dovbyk in the front two, Kone and Pizzilli starting at centre midfield. And I thought they were really, really quite outstanding actually. First half, they created so many chances. They scored the goal. Dovbyk scoring his first goal for Roma. He could have had a hat trick in this game, and they were really, really good. Second half, I thought Genoa came back into it without being that dangerous. Roma still definitely deserve to win this game, but the Genoa, just, I don't know what it is about Genoa. They just never say die. They've got such team spirit. They never give up under Gilardino, and their record, as I've said so many times in this, their record against the big teams under Gilardino this season and last is absolutely insane. They've hardly lost to any of the big teams in the last two seasons. So
Mm.
yeah, starting from Roma though, yeah. What do you think the 3-5-2 is the way to go for Roma?
Phew. I didn't watch this game. This is one of the games I didn't see, all the
Mm.
others. But I think in general, that's the only formation I can see
Dybala.
working balance. Yeah, Dybala mainly. But then where does Sule play in the 3-5-2? That's the issue. The
Yeah.
big summer signing. I mean, me and you agreed on this. Like even in our group chats, we talked about it was some about the Dybala conundrum that in modern football, that's the only formation that fits him, a three
Mm.
five two. Um, but Dovbik, I don't really see the connection with Dovbik. The problem with Dovbik, he's kind of similar to what we talked about with Vlahovic earlier. He seems to struggle to kind of really connect with his teammates or hold up the
Mm.
ball or have like play 1-2s. He looks, yeah, he doesn't look like the guy, a type of striker that Dybala can combine with, if you know what I mean.
Mm.
So that's the issue at the moment, and he's the big summer signing, of course. Dovbik. It's good to see him getting his first goal, but this team just doesn't seem to get any type of chemistry moving forward. Which was actually when De Rossi first came in last year. It seemed like he was really good on the attacking side of things, and defensively is where maybe he was lacking. But he seemed to have sorted them out kind of defensively at the moment, but they just don't really do much going forward. I don't see any type of patterns. I don't really see any type of ideas. Um, yeah, there's a lot of work to do for De Rossi.
Yeah, I think Roma have a real problem here with fitting all of their summer signings into the same formation, and that is a damning indictment for me on their transfer market.
Yeah,
Because and this is the criticism that I had for Juventus for a few years under Paratici. This is one of the biggest strengths of Marotta. When Marotta does transfer market, he always has in mind fitting them into a certain way of playing or a certain system. And it doesn't necessarily always mean buying the best players, but it means do they fit into that system. When you Paratici was doing all his damage at Juventus, he was signing like he would do a transfer window where he would buy four players. Two of them could only play in one system, and the other two could only play in the other system, and they couldn't all play together in the same system. Like for example, Douglas Costa, you buy a winger, and then you have Dybala who can't play in a winger system. Like for example, something like that. And again, they've got the Dybala problem again. Whereas this summer they've bought Sule, who clearly I don't know how you fit him and Dybala in the same team unless you play 4-3-2-1, which they tried in the first kind of game or two and it didn't work at all. Then you've got Dovbik, who needs crosses into the box. That's how he scored all his goals at Girona. And then in the first 2 or 3 games, you don't play wingers, so you don't have any crosses going into the box. And then you've got 3-5-2, which actually more crosses were put in the box in this game, and Salamakers actually played quite well before he got injured. Put in a wing back, playing as a wing back, but it's like I don't see how all these players fit in the same team. I think that's going to be a problem over the course of the season for De Rossi. Having said that, though, they played well in the first half. They created a lot of chances. They deserved to win. And I thought that Kone especially was a big positive. He was really, really good. And he's actually looked, even against Juventus when he came on, he looked really good against Juve as well. So the hope is that, he brings, along with the youngster Pizzilli, some much needed kind of intensity and legs and physique to the team, which is something I
yeah.
think that Roma definitely looked like they were lacking in the first couple of games of the season. So I think
Oh my God, a
that's a
midfield
positive.
of Paredes, Cristante, and
Oh,
Pellegrini. There's no legs.
no, exactly. And then Dybala up front as well, and Sule, who's not really the most physical guy either. So I think that will help. The defense was good though in this game
Yeah,
until that last gasp. I don't know what happened. They just went to sleep. De Winter kind of got into the middle of Ndika, who was outstanding. He was perfect until then, and Hermoso, who came on as a sub, and they equals. But apart from that, Genoa really they didn't do anything at all.
yeah.
They got the result somehow. It's mad, Gilardino, what he's doing.
Yeah. Well, they're a tricky team, as you said, Gilardino, this Genoa team at home. That's why I wasn't too sad about getting the draw in the first game for Inter, because it's a
Mm.
difficult place, the Marassi under Gilardino.
Yeah, it is. Also, some trivia: Stefanos Tsitsipas, the tennis player, was randomly was warming up the goalkeepers, Genoa goalkeepers, before the game.
He
He
was really good. He was hitting some proper nice shots.
top corner, yeah, top bins. A couple of his shots. Yeah, he's a Genoa fan. Genoa
That's
fan.
random.
He told the story that he become a Genoa fan because he used to play FIFA or Pro Evo on video game, and him and his brother, and they had to choose a team, and he chose Genoa because he liked the kit or the logo or something, and yeah, that's who he chose. Yeah. Um, right. Just quickly, the other two Serie A fixtures from the weekend. So Como 2, Bologna 2. Late comeback from Bologna, who were 2-0 down. Iling Jr. with a great injury time equaliser. Both teams also haven't won. There's quite a few teams in Serie A haven't won yet. A lot of draws so far in Serie A this season. What you wanted to just say about Bologna quickly, that you're a bit worried about them?
Yeah, I predicted him, I think, to finish like eighth or ninth, but I think once the Champions League starts, they're gonna even they're gonna be even worse because they're not gonna be able to cope with those double weekly fixtures. They're looking really susceptible at the back, and they're not even looking good going forward. Like even the goals they scored were just kind of, I think the first one was kind of off a bit of a rebound, and then Ealing
Yeah.
Jr. just a brilliant individual moment. So yeah, Bologna need to watch out.
Yeah, I agree. They had a disastrous transfer window, and they lost half their team, and the players that come in were all much weaker. The other game was Torino nil, Lecce nil, which I didn't see any of that game. Still to play on Monday, we have Parma, Udinese, and Lazio, Verona. So Napoli will be top of Serie A unless Udinese win at Parma, which is going to be quite hard, I think, away at Parma. Yeah,
Imagine the Udinese top.
Udinese top would be mad. It really would. Um, okay, right. So Champions League this week it returns first match day of the season in the new Champions League. Inter Milan, Juventus, Atalanta, and Bologna. 5 Serie A teams in the new Champions League format. 36 team league. 8 fixtures for each team in the league phase. For those of you who haven't listened to or watched it yet, Nima and myself produced a Champions League preview show previewing the new season, like how the new format works, analysing all of our 5 Serie A teams, the squads, the probable 11s, their fixture lists, strengths and weaknesses, the predictions really of how they'll do, and the predictions for the tournament. So do check that out. It came out last week. You can listen to it on any of our podcast apps or watch us on video on our YouTube page. We also, on our YouTube page, we did 3 special match previews on the 3 big games, the Anglo-Italian games: Milan against Liverpool, City versus Inter, and Atalanta versus Arsenal. So do check those out on our YouTube page. But we'll go through very, very quickly. I just want to get some predictions from you, Shams, on these games. So the 5 games are Juventus versus PSV. What are you thinking for that one?
I'm gonna go for a draw.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I'm a little bit worried as well. I think it'll be a 1-goal game. I think for if Juventus are going to win it. Milan against Liverpool.
Oh, I'm gonna go for a Liverpool win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I, yeah. Difficult one. Liverpool started the season really well, won their first 3 games, and then lost at home to Nottingham Forest and played really sterile. Again, sterile is the word of the
Mm,
day. Really sterile against Forest. They barely threatened, but obviously Milan aren't going to be disciplined like Forest are and sit
no.
back and defend. So it'll be a different game, I think. But yeah, we need Rafael Leao and Teo and the big guys to step up for that. Bologna, Shakhtar. What do you
Oh
think?
God. I have no idea who Shakhtar have these days and who
No,
their coach is, but the way Bologna are playing, but they might be one of those teams that might do awful, or they might even like get relegated in Serie A. But then maybe Italiano. We've been seeing Italiano's football has worked well in Europe, hasn't it, in
it
Conference
does.
League?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go for. a win for Bologna.
Yeah,
Surprising.
I've just got a feeling they're going to win. Like, no, there's no logic behind
Yeah, yeah.
that prediction. I just feel they might get a win. Apparently, Shakhtar have got a new Mudryk. Apparently, I don't know
Yeah.
whether that's good or bad though. That's the thing. I don't know. City Inter, which you're going to. So,
Yeah.
what are your feelings ahead of this one for Inter?
Phew, yeah. I watched some of the City game against Brentford. They went 1-0 down very early, and then afterwards, Haaland is just in monstrous form. But I think as fact that I think we're going to play our strongest lineup. I think we're going to go there and put up a good performance and get a draw. I think, yeah, I think Inzaghi wants to get a good result out there, and I think we will a draw, and I think that'll be a great result for us to get a Champions League campaign started.
That would be fantastic. I mean, City are looking really, really good this season, but they did give up chances against
Yeah.
Brentford. Like when they
Hmm.
went 1-0 behind, that Brentford were going for them. And Haaland obviously is on fire, but Acerbi, I mean, he's a bit older now, but Acerbi really didn't give him a kick in that Champions League final. So hopefully, assuming Acerbi plays, that is, that he can pull out another performance against Haaland. And then Atalanta versus Arsenal. This is an interesting one. This is because Arsenal have quite a few injuries, and Saka, I don't know. I know he went off injured against in the North London derby. Odegaard's already out, so if Saka's out as well, I mean, do you think Atalanta have got a chance here? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think they do. And who else? There's one they're missing someone in midfield as well. Other than
Merino, but
Odegaard.
he was never
Oh,
he hasn't
okay.
even made his debut yet. Rice was
Yeah.
suspended, but he'll be back for this
Yeah, I
game.
think Atalanta is again, I think one of those teams that their style of football is probably suited to European football.
Mm.
Um, I think, yeah, I think they can sneak a draw here. I think that would be a great result for them.
Yeah, Arsenal are a pragmatic team, like you said.
Yeah.
So a bit Motta-like. I agree with that comparison. So that they Atalanta have sometimes struggled against those kind of teams. I think Atalanta like it when teams press them and come at
Mm,
them. We see that with Liverpool, didn't we, and Leverkusen as well. So it might
that's a
count
good
against
point.
them, but we'll
Mm.
see. Europa League match day 1 isn't until next week, and Conference League match day isn't until October the 3rd. Okay, let's finish off with Baggio, Premface, and Serie Ass of the week. Okay, so Baggio of the week. I have one proper Baggio, and that is Baldanzi for his hat trick for Italy under
Mm.
21s against Norway. It was a stunning hat trick. Like the goals were incredible. All of them actually, all great goals. He's got a wonderful left foot. Has Baldanzi. I just hope that he isn't one of these players. A bit like what we said with Dybala. Like, is there a position for him in modern football? That's my only concern with Baldanzi. De Rossi trying to play him as a Mezzala. Do you think that's something that can work? What do you think of his future?
Yeah, I think that's the only way in modern football. I've spoken similarly about Carboni, the boy that went to Marseille on loan. He's this kind of number 10. You have to decide whether you want to be a second striker or a mezzala. That's the only real position that you have these days if you're not a athletic winger type. So that's potentially the future for him.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. Shout out to Sven Goran Eriksson. We said our final goodbye to him. It was his funeral on Friday. Absolute legend. So rest in peace to Sven. And the final one, I don't know whether this really counts as a bad joke because this is kind of glorifying shithousery, but it's so funny. It's actually over a week old now, but it come to our attention after recorded the last pod. I don't know if you saw this. Italy's 6th division, the Promozione. It was a game between Pontassieve and Subiano. And what happened was the home team were on a counter-attack, basically going to be through on goal. And then the Subiano coach, the visitors' coach, run onto the pitch to tackle the player and stop the counter attack,
Yeah, I
which
did see
was
that.
just gold, absolute gold. And he got sent off, but the club refused to sack him. There was calls for him to be sacked. But that is just Italy. That is there's nothing more Italian than that. Brilliant. Love that. Did you have one?
Yeah, I had going back to the Cagliari Napoli match. After they lost for Neo Cagliari, of course, when there's a bad loss, you usually have to face up to the curva or to the ultras or whatever. And for some reason, this time around, the club mascot decided to join in with the players, and it was just taking in abuse alongside the players. I don't know why. And it's like a massive, I think it's a flamingo. I forgot what it's called. It's got like a silly, mascot name. And it's just this 7-foot flamingo standing alongside the players, getting abuse of the ultras.
Love it.
Just dying.
I love that. Yeah, that was a great sight. Premface. I've got some belters this week for Premfaces. It's been an infamous week for Premfaces. So first of all, the British media during the international break, obviously Erik ten Hag was under heavy pressure after the latest terrible starts of the season for United. So all the English media are all going after him at the moment. They did though win at the weekend, but this was before that. So they reported that he coached his former side Utrecht in a testimonial match for a former player. Now, all the mainstream media in England, they all reported, it's the Sun, the Daily Mail, TalkSport, Daily Mirror, basically all of them, they all reported that Ten Hag had lost again. He'd lost another game. They'd lost 2-1. He can't even win testimonials. And then they kind of used that as a stick to beat him with and just to basically take the mick out of him even more. The problem was that he'd actually won the game 2-1, and this was easily searchable. Just go onto the Utrecht official website. They had the score there in big letters and the highlights that they'd won the game 2-1. It's all over the media, the mainstream media, that they've lost the game. So I thought that was a good example of just terrible journalism, really, just copying each other, which is what a lot of them do. They just copy each other without even going to the original source. So that's number one. The number two, this is brilliant. This is something that we've seen. You probably would have seen as well, having done some work in the Italian media, writing stuff. And it was the Irish editors of the match program for the game between Ireland under-21s and Latvia under-21s. Now, for some inexplicable reason, in the match program, they put the entire Latvia squad through Google Translate rather than just print their actual names.
No way.
It resulted in some of the most bizarre names, hilarious names that were listed on the match program for those who went to the game. And now, listen to some of these, right? In midfield, Latvia under-21s had a player called Robert the Liar. That was the midfield. And then the three forwards they had was Gleb Liked It, one of them. Bruno the Black. How they did see these names and not realise they're wrong. And then the other one, which I love, Dario Shit. These were the three Latvia attackers for their under-21s. So everyone who went to the game saw this on their match programme. The Irish FA have since issued an apology to the Latvian FA.
Dario Shit.
I mean, there's nothing more Irish than that, I don't think. Final Premface of the week was a story in The Guardian, who were printing a story on the news that Tottenham midfielder Rodrigo Bentancur, former Juventus midfielder, is facing a 12-match ban for making an alleged racist remark about South Koreans while he was on Uruguayan TV. So he was appearing on a show on Uruguayan TV, and he was asked for a Tottenham player's jersey. And he replied, Sonny's, do you want Sonny? Like Son Heung-min. And Bentancur then added that it could be Son's cousin too, because more or less they are all the same. So he was making an alleged racist remark that all South Koreans are the same. So the Guardian print this story, but they when they use the image that they use on the story is of Christian Romero instead of Bentancur. So just the irony of using an image of the wrong South American on a story about a South American being charged for saying all South Koreans look the same. I mean, you just have to laugh at it.
Yeah. I had one from Big Sam. I think I posted it in the group chat.
Oh yes, yeah. Go on.
So he was I think it's on his podcast, which is called No More Tippy Tappy Football, which already that should be Premface of the year just for the name of that podcast. And then he was saying that playing out from the back basically is like, I'm losing my marbles. Is this your tactic? Playing out from the back, even if it don't work. He was just going on a 2-minute tirade about how modern football everyone plays from the back, and then even if it doesn't work, to a certain degree, I kind of agree with him. To kind of some coaches can just kind of force it, but the way that he does it, and it's just like peak boomer, just being mad at modern football
Yeah.
now, leaving him behind.
Enough of this woke nonsense,
Yeah, basically.
Martin Samuel would say. Yeah, I mean, it's Big Sam, isn't it? There is something alluring about him when he does that. Serie Ass of the week. I have got one, and this dates back to something that we've been talking about for quite a while, which is the stadium situation and what a mess it is in Italy. So UEFA director Michele Uva has warned that Italy risk losing the co-hosting rights to Euro 2032 because the only stadium which of the state, I think it's five, I think that they're due to host games for Euro 2032 in Italy. Only one of them, the Allianz Juventus Stadium, is up to scratch. He says Italy needs 5 stadiums up to code for Euro 2032. Blah 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 blah. A year has passed since the hosting rights were assigned, and there has not been much progress. They've basically done nothing in a year,
No.
and we've seen all the problems with trying to renovate or rebuild a new stadium for Inter and Milan, or we've seen with Roma and all these other stadiums that it's just the same old all the time. And I mean, it's just I've already been told from someone else that is it San Siro is supposed to get the Champions League final, aren't they? Is it 2026? I think.
Yeah.
Apparently, they're going to lose that almost certainly now. It's going to be pushed back. Officially, it's going to be pushed back another year but it's because they're not going to be able to host it, basically. So
Embarrassing.
it just sums up really the problems in one of the many problems in Italian football. I actually have one other one which I forgot I'd put down here. So the TV crisis, which we've spoken a lot about around the world, the lack of Serie A TV rights, just Serie A fans not being able to watch Serie A. The problem is there's a big problem in England still at the moment. They basically they're dividing TNT in England. TNT show 2 games a weekend. The other 8, you have to go onto onefootball.com or download their app to watch the other 8 games. But there was rumours that they were going to be doing a season pass where you could pay, I think the word was £99.99, so £100, and you get to watch all the other 8 games that TNT don't have each weekend, or you could buy a team pass for, I think it was £79.99. None of this is advertised. This has just come through others in the industry that have reported this. So it's been terribly promoted, or not. There's been no promotion. But I went on to OneFootball to try and see if I could watch any of the games, or to see if I could actually buy the pass. And it's not even available. So we're in match day 4, and the only way you can watch games on OneFootball is to pay $4.99 for each game. So if you wanted to watch all 8 games this past weekend in Serie A, you'd have had to pay basically £40. Plus, if you wanted to watch the other 2, you'd have had to have a TNT subscription. So, I mean, this is just England. It's a complete mess, and it's been terrible. There's just been no promotion or any explanation to anybody in the UK that wants to watch the matches. It's just embarrassing, and I believe that still it hasn't been sorted in. Is it Malaysia as well? They haven't got the rights there still, so it's a mess.
I saw France as well. France is still not sorted.
Yeah, France. No rights in France. There's a lot of markets that they haven't sorted. Total mess. Okay, right. Let's leave it at that. Thank you so much to Rahul, to Uncle Sharma for joining us, for substituting Nima. Once again, do check out his channel, Uncle Sharma. It's called on YouTube. It is one of the best channels around for covering Inter. He does lots of content during the week, pre-match and post-match as well. It's really good. I always check it out before I do the pod to know what's going on with Inter. Yeah, thanks a lot, Uncle, for coming on. I think he's gone. So we'll leave it at that. We will be back on, I'm going to say Tuesday, but for the Q&A, but I honestly don't know when Nima is going to manage to get out of Dubai. So it might end up being Wednesday that we do the
He's too
Q&A.
busy at Nusret getting
Yeah,
meat
yeah,
shoved down his throat.
he's at Nusret having a golden steak, and we will have a Q&A episode as well this week. It might be Wednesday. We will also have a review of the Champions League games. Our midweek show will be back, and that I'm thinking that will be Thursday, but it might potentially be Friday because Arsenal are playing Atalanta. We'll see how our schedules align for that. So thank you everyone for listening. See you next time. Ciao, ciao.